Yanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manodishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kamanyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddhapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakhamritamsha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikanta Radhananta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnanusudevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhudevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yantah pravishyamam vavachamam prasuttam sanjivayate kila shakti darakshvadhamna anyam shahasta charana shravana tvaradi pranam namo bhagavate purushaye. Hare Krishna. I feel very awkward to having speak in front of all of you. Please forgive me for being so impudent, daring to do this, and I'll try as a service. I'm used to speak to Russian devotees, and Russian devotees are very kind and not very knowledgeable. So I feel much more confident when I speak in front of them. And being here in this audience, I feel really nervous. Anyway, I'll speak on one verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 26th chapter, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, which describes the nature of our consciousness, or rather material element Citta, which is there, and I will try to explain it in connection with our chanting of the holy name. So it's 22nd verse of the 26th chapter of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Svachatvam avikaritvam shantatvam iti chetasaha vrittibhir lakshanam proktam yathapam prakriti vara. Svachatam, clarity, avikaritvam, freedom from all distraction, shantatvam, serenity. Iti thus, chetasaha of consciousness, vritti being by characteristics, lakshanam, traits, proktam, cold, yatha, as, apam, of water, prakriti, natural taste, para, pure. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Prabhupada. After the manifestation of the Mahat Tattva, these features appear simultaneously. As water in its natural state, before coming in contact with earth, is clear, sweet, and unruffled, so the characteristic traits of pure consciousness are complete serenity, clarity, and freedom from distraction. Purport. The pure status of consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, exists in the beginning, just after creation. Consciousness is not polluted. The more one becomes materially contaminated, however, the more consciousness becomes obscured. In pure consciousness, one can perceive slight reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as in clear, unagitated water, free from impurities. One can see everything clearly. So in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one can see things as they are. One can see the reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or one can see his own existence as well. This state of consciousness is very pleasing, transparent, and sober. In the beginning, consciousness is pure. So Lord Kapila Dev is describing the qualities of the material elements, and these material elements, the first material element, which is completely sattvic by nature, is called Mahatattva, and in our body it's manifested as Citta. In the global scale, in the scale of the universe, in the macro scale, it is Mahatattva. In our own little microcosm, it is called Citta. And this Citta is the original consciousness, or the original material element, which is next to the soul. And basically, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Cheta Darpana Marjanam, he means Citta. And he uses basically the same sort of example, because it is said there that originally this Citta, being very pure and transparent, can reflect the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks about the same quality of Citta, which is the quality to reflect. He says Darpanam. Darpanam means mirror, and mirror can reflect things. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Prabhupada is basically literally translating Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport to this verse. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the main quality of the pure Citta, when the Citta is pure, when our consciousness becomes pure, or as Srila Prabhupada says, when our consciousness returns to its pure state, which is Krishna consciousness, then it's the first quality of it, which is called here in the verse, in Sanskrit verse, Svachatvam, the purity. The first quality, purity, means Bhagavad Bimba Grahitvam, which literally means that the pure consciousness is able to reflect, to get the glimpse or reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, even though the Citta is a material element, it's the first material element which is there, still when it comes to its original state like it is immediately after the creation of the first elements. It naturally reflects the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we will be able to see Him, and we will be able, in this clear state of consciousness, we will be able to see ourselves. In other words, nothing else is required. It's very interesting because today is, of course, Bhaktivinod Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur's appearance day, and one of the very significant, how shall I say it, changes which he brought about to our Siddhanta. Not really changes, but significant, I don't know how to exactly say it, but anyway, let's say changes. His teachings is somewhat different from the teachings of some other branches of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and still to this date there is a controversy over this point. Whether the love of God is inherent or it's given to us. That's a very significant point of our Siddhanta, and most of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas outside of the followers of Bhaktivinod Thakur, they are of the opinion that you can only get love of God from outside. It has to be given to you by somebody who has it. There is no other way to get love of God. But Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur was very emphatic about this point. The other Vaishnavas, the other branches of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they say that we have the potential to love, but there is no love. Love is not inherent. And of course, the praman which they use is this famous verse from Srila Rupa Goswami, and paraphrase of this verse in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is it? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabu Noi, Shravanadi Shuddha Citta Karaye Udoi. So there are two different translations of this verse. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabu Noi. Krishna Prema, you know, the whole trick is about this word sadhya. Sadhya literally means the, let's say, traditional version of translation of this particular verse is that Krishna Prema is Nitya Siddha. It's eternally exists in the Nitya Siddha devotees. Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Hridi Sadhyata. And it's not being created. Sadhya means it's not being created. Sadhya means something which you create during your sadhana. So it has to be given to you. But Srila Prabhupada, following the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur, he translates it differently. He says it's dormant within your heart. So there is quite a significant difference between these two conceptions. One conception is that it's not there in the heart, and you're completely dependent upon receiving this love of Godhead from somebody who has it, from Nitya Siddha devotee. But Bhaktivinod Thakur says, no, it's dormant within your heart, and it's a question of revealing it. And basically, one of the pramanas which can be used to prove Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur's point is this particular verse, which says quite clearly that even when you are still in the material consciousness, not completely purified, but quite purified, and still Citta is there, you're still, it means basically you're still here, but in this clear state of Citta, both your own svarupa and the reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will become clear to you. It will become revealed to you. And of course, Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur in the last song of Sharanagati, the Sri Nam Mahatmya, where he describes the glory of the holy name, he emphasizes this point even more. He says that it is the holy name itself, or the holy name himself, is responsible for giving you everything. You're not dependent on anything else. It's only your service to the holy name, only your relationship to the holy name, only your sincere chanting of the holy name, which is capable to bring about this state when your svarupa is revealed to you. And the comparison which Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur is using in this song is quite similar to his comparison of the consciousness being like a lotus flower, and when the lotus flower is gradually blooming and becoming more and more visible. So he says that by the influence of the holy name, this blooming of the consciousness will take place. And this is the only influence of the holy name, and nothing else, nothing extraneous is required. Basically, your sincere service to the holy name. But how to kind of reconcile these two opinions? It's possible to reconcile because basically, for us to be able to chant the pure holy name, we have to receive the pure holy name from somebody who has the pure holy name. So we still have to receive the holy name from a pure devotee, from the lips of the pure devotee. We still have to receive the vibration of the holy name from the pure consciousness. Then only this holy name will manifest its complete power and complete potency. There is a very interesting anecdote from the life of Bhaktivinod Thakur himself, when he was traveling with his son Bimal Prasad in the future to be Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And they were, while traveling in Bengal, they came to a village which is quite famous in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kulinagram village. The same village, inhabitants of which every year coming to Jagannath Puri for Jagannath Ratha Yatra would ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how we can recognize who is a devotee. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu consequently would give different answers to, to their question. So when Bhaktivinod Thakur came to this Kulinagram village, the local villagers told him and Bimal Prasad, his little son, to stay in the house. And they stayed overnight in the house, and in the morning the clever citizens of this, or inhabitants of this village came and asked Bhaktivinod Thakur, how did you sleep? And Bhaktivinod Thakur said, oh, I slept very nicely. They were so surprised to hear this. And they said, this place is infested by a powerful Brahma Rakshasa. We had a priest in our village, he died and he became the ghost. And this ghost is living here, and whoever stays here, he becomes very disturbed. You cannot really sleep here. How did you manage to sleep nicely here? And Bhaktivinod Thakur, he smiled. He said, yes, the ghost came. And how did you drive him away? He said, oh, I just chanted Hare Krishna. I just loudly chanted Hare Krishna, and I think this ghost will never come again. He will not bother anyone. So villagers, they became even more surprised. They said, how could you drive away this ghost of the priest from this house by chanting Hare Krishna, because this priest himself always was chanting Hare Krishna. He was always chanting Hare Krishna, so how could you drive him away by the same Hare Krishna? And Bhaktivinod Thakur, he smiled again. He said, he didn't chant Hare Krishna. He just chanted the material sound which sounded like Hare Krishna. It was not Hare Krishna. He said he was a greedy priest, and being a greedy priest, he was chanting for his own aggrandizement. He was basically chanting for himself, and therefore the holy name which he chanted didn't have any power. And this, of course, reminds the famous verse from Padma Purana, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoting this verse, or Haridas Thakur quoting this verse in the Anti-Lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, is glorifying the power of the holy name. But he also, in this verse, there is also a very important part. Tachet deha dravina janata deha dravina janata pashanda madhye. Tachet deha dravina janata lobha pashanda madhye. Tachet deha dravina janata lobha pashanda madhye nikshiktam sya naphala janakam Shigram evatra vipra. This verse says very clearly that even though the holy name is very powerful, and even if it's just touching your ears, just once touching your ears, it can immediately purify your consciousness. But the second part of this verse, Tachet deha dravina janata lobha pashanda madhye, says that Nikshiptam syan naphala janakam shigram evatra vipra. If it's being chanted with the purpose of one's deha, body, dravina, the material possession which we have, janata, our followers, for the sake of, collecting or accumulating followers, and for the sake of one's relatives, lobha. If you have this lobha or desire, if you chant and at the same time while chanting have this lobha, greed for all these material things, which we all to a certain extent have. We all want the nice facilities for our body, deha, dravina, janata. It's all there. This is very natural for this consciousness, and in this particular verse, this sort of consciousness is called pashandata. It's atheism. Basically, when we still identify with the interest of the body and the extended interest of the body, which is, dravina and janata, all our followers and all the material facilities, and if this lobha desire is there, then nikshiptam syan naphala janakam shigram evapravipya. Then the holy name will act, no doubt about it, but not so quickly. It will not, the naphala janakam, the result, the fall, the fruit of the chanting of the holy name will not come so quickly. The purification of the consciousness will not come quickly. Therefore, it is so important for our benefit to hear the holy name from the lips of a pure devotee, or from the sphere of non-dual consciousness of the pure devotee. Because otherwise, this holy name will remain just a material sound. Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur, or it's not still exactly as it is said, it will still act upon your consciousness, but the result will not come so quickly. Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur in Prema Vivarta, he explains this again. He says that you can chant the holy name, or you can chant the syllables of the holy name. And there is a difference between chanting of the holy name and the syllables of the holy name, because chanting of the holy name means you have the complete total faith that the holy name is not different from the nami or the possessor of the holy name. Binatvam nama namino. You have, if the holy name is pronounced from this consciousness, then the holy name will act very quickly. And the holy name will purify the consciousness, and the consciousness will accept its original state. Srila Prabhupada explains that this original state of the consciousness, which actually we are supposed to return to, has three significant qualities. And these three significant qualities, svachhatvam, adhikaritvam, and shantatvam. And Srila Prabhupada explains each of these qualities following the footsteps of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. As I already said, svachhatvam, the first characteristic of the pure consciousness, really pure consciousness, is that it reflects bimba, the reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, you can see the reflection of Krishna naturally in your consciousness. Sometimes, there is this very difficult, how shall we say, again, somewhat controversial among Gaudiya Vaishnavas question or topic about Raganuga sadhana and what should you do, when shall you start your Raganuga sadhana, when should you start, your journey to, to your Manjari Deha, and, shall we start right away or wait a little bit when we're ready to do this? Already we have Manjari, so still a little bit we should wait before it happens. Sometimes people, they try to say that in the very initial states we should imagine ourselves, and through the process of imagination, of kalpana, we will do it. But it's not really so. Because imagination, you can only imagine some material stuff. It will have nothing to do with the transcendental reality. The transcendental process is basically explained here in this verse, because the transcendental process is you chant the holy name very sincerely with complete concentration on the holy name, and by chanting the holy name sincerely, you will create the transparency in the mirror of your heart. And when the heart is transparent, then the reflection comes naturally, without any additional help from your side when you try to, really artificially imagine something, or, go through this process of imagination. But how do you know? Because sometimes, actually this question was asked from me yesterday after my class by Vrindavan Prabhu. He said, sometimes I see some vision in my mind. And how do I recognize? Is it some imagination? Is it some game of my mind? Or is it something real? Is it a real spiritual experience? And that's a very important question for every one of us. Because sometimes, we don't force ourselves into this imagination. We don't try to, remember some Pushkar's painting of Krishna and and concentrate on this, but it naturally comes. Is it the reflection? Is it that our consciousness is pure enough now to get the glimpse of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or it's still some trick of our mind? So therefore, two other qualities are very important. And because if this quality may be, maybe misunderstood, so to speak, because it's a little tricky when we deal with our mind, but these other qualities, avikaritvam and shantatvam, they are very clear, and they can give us very clear idea when our consciousness is really clear, when our consciousness really returned to its original state, which is Krishna consciousness. So, Adhikaritvam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and of course Srila Prabhupada is saying the same here. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Adhikaritvam means laya viksepa rahitvam. Laya viksepa rahitvam. It means that in the pure state, Krishna consciousness is devoid of laya and viksepa, which basically means, laya means laziness, which basically means the influence of the lower modes of material nature. Laya means sleepiness, laya means dullness, which we have. You know, and if we chant the holy name and sometimes we feel a little sleepy, it basically means that we're not yet at this stage when we're ready to imagine our Siddha Deha or, you know, to act in our Siddha Deha. Bhaktivinod Thakur himself, he slept only 2.5 hours a day, so he didn't need the sleep. Physically, there was no need for him to sleep because his consciousness was so pure and so devoid of this influence of the lower modes of material nature that he could go without sleeping. Sometimes, you know, I had insomnia for a long period of time. I also didn't sleep, but my consciousness was not really clear at that time. It was totally agitated. And therefore it is said, laya viksepa rahitvam. It basically means it's devoid of this dullness, which is the influence of tamagun, and it's devoid of viksepa, which means distraction, which means that you are completely not concentrated. So that's adhikaritvam. And the next quality, the third quality, so 3 qualities are there: svachatvam, adhikaritvam, and shantatvam. Shantatvam means peacefulness. And Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur again very clearly says that shantatvam means, how he calls it, ragadi. Anyway, it's free from attachment. It's free from raga adi. Raga means raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha, and so on and so forth. Basically, shantatvam means basically that it's free from the negative influences, negative emotions, and therefore it's very serene. It basically means that you don't have all these negative emotions which are there, because raga is raga and shoka and bhaya, they all go together. So they disturb the mind. They disturb the clarity or the peacefulness of the mind. And if you still experience shoka, lamentation, if you still experience bhaya, fear, if you still experience all these negative emotions, and at the same time you experience this laya and viksepa, so maybe you should chant a little more before doing something else, before doing or going into some more elevated state of practice. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada and of course Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were so adamant against this premature Siddha Deha stuff. So therefore, this verse with these 3 qualities, and of course the 3 qualities here are compared with the 3 qualities of water. The water has reflective ability; it can reflect things. The water has sweet taste, so it's free from all these negative emotions. It's the comparison with the 3rd quality, and it's avikaritvam. It's not really disturbed. It's very peaceful. So these 3 qualities of water, 3 qualities of pure state of consciousness. And ultimately, this what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means when he says Cheta Darpana Marjana. And we have to have complete faith, and remembering the powerful sound which we have heard from the lips of a pure devotee, we try to serve the holy name with complete conviction that the very first effect of it is Citta Darpana Marjanam. And when Citta Darpana Marjanam will take place, there will be no doubts in our mind whether this is a real reflection, real spiritual experience, or some imagination. The very fact that the doubt is there means that it probably not 100% real. It probably just, or it may be some little glimpse which is there, but basically it means that consciousness is not pure enough to reflect the spiritual reality. That's an amazing gift of God, and this is basically the meaning of what Kapila Dev is saying here, that the amazing gift of God is that we have this original ability given to us even in our conditioned state. Even in the conditioned state, we have this potential to see the Supreme Lord. He can be revealed, but the purification has to take place. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was manifesting his pastimes, he was, the very foundation of his pastimes and the effects of the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon others was due to this pure holy name. I wanted to narrate a little story from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, which where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains what should be the effect of the holy name. When the holy name is chanted purely, and when you receive the holy name within your heart from the pure source. This is the quite famous pastime how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time revealed his divine nature to Srivas Thakur in Navadvip. We all know that Srivas Thakur was a very prominent devotee in Navadvip, and therefore he was hated by all the atheists who were living in Navadvip. And especially when the loud kirtans of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started in the house of Srivas Thakur, the hatred of all the atheists in Navadvip became very acute, and they started spreading the rumors that because of this loud kirtans of these Vaishnavas, very soon the Kazi will send their armed forces, and they will arrest everyone and destroy the whole city of Navadvip. And therefore the envious neighbors of Srivas Thakur, they said, we will just throw away his house to the Ganga. We will just take away, you can imagine what kind of house he had, which could be which could be thrown into Ganga by some neighbors. It's probably not a very solid house. But the neighbors were spreading these rumors, and at one point the rumor spread all over Navadvip that already the armed forces are coming, and the local Muslim governor is coming to arrest all the Vaishnavas. And the boats are there, and already the forces are going. And Srivas Thakur became completely fearful. He became so fearful that he locked himself in his little temple room. And he had a deity of Lord Nrisimhadev, and he started chanting Nrisimha mantra. And he was chanting Nrisimha mantra very frantically for his own protection. he was really trembling, and he was almost fainting when he was doing this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the super soul in every living entity, he understood the condition of his devotee, and he decided to relieve his devotee from this fearful condition. So he came and he started banging in the door of Srivas Thakur, saying, open the door, open the door. The one whom you're calling is here. And Srivas Thakur is opening the door, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he enters his temple room and sits right there on the altar, just in the middle of the altar, and says, oh, Srivas Thakur, you were calling somebody, that's me. I'm here to protect you. And I'm here to give you the fearlessness. And Srivas Thakur, he became completely overwhelmed, and he fell down, paid his obeisances, and he called all his relatives there and made all his relatives to pay obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started speaking to him. And that's why I'm telling this story, because he said a very significant thing there. He said, oh Srivas Thakur, why are you so afraid? I know you're afraid that, because you're afraid that you will be arrested. But I'm the super soul, and nobody can arrest you if I don't inspire somebody from the heart to arrest you. So you don't have to worry about this. If you are arrested, it means I inspired him, so nothing wrong in this, you know. Or if I don't inspire, nobody will do it. So, but then he says, but even if this Qazi or whoever it is, Muslim ruler, will manifest some independence. It's very interesting, this suggestion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that even if he manifests some independence, it basically means that we do have some minute independence. And we can act even despite the inspiration of the super soul. And normally we act because of the inspiration of the super soul. Super soul is in charge, but not necessarily. He says, okay, let's give you the benefit of a doubt. Let's say this Muslim ruler is doing something independently on me, and he will come here and he will arrest you. Fine. But before he will take you, I will be the first one who will step in this boat. And he will have first to take me to his court. And when he will take me to his court, and I will stand, when all these people who came to arrest you will take me also and will bring me to the court of the Muslim ruler, I will stand in front of the Muslim ruler. And he's sitting on his throne. And I'm standing in front of him. And of course, when he sees me, he will just step down from his throne and pay the obeisance to me, because it will be so overwhelming to him. But let's say he will not do it. He gives... Okay. He gives another benefit of the doubt. Let's say he will not do it. Okay. Then what I will do, I'm standing there in the court of this Muslim ruler, and I will say to this Muslim ruler, you call all your holy men to the court, all the mullahs and all your qazis and all the scholars, and then you call some elephant and let them chant Quran, and let them make the elephant chant Quran after them. And of course, they will not be able to do it. And then I will ask this Muslim ruler, you please bring all the horses, all the elephants, and the mad elephants too. And you bring everyone here. And then I will chant the holy name, and everyone will start crying and will chant after me, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. everyone will be crying, and everyone will be chanting, including the mad elephants and parrots and the birds and horses and the Muslim ruler himself. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by saying this, he said, he basically was glorifying the power of the holy name, which is coming from the pure consciousness. You know, when we will chant the holy name in front of the elephant may not be so impressed. he may not necessarily start crying. Most probably. But when the pure holy name comes from the pure consciousness of a pure devotee who really understands this, then immediately the effect will take place. And basically, this is what we should do. We should take the holy name which we received from the pure devotee and try to serve the holy name by knowing that the holy name, knowing very well that the holy name will purify our consciousness. And if we do it properly without ahankar, and that's another thing which I wanted to finish before I finish this lecture. So, what is the contaminating factor in this pure consciousness? Because Lord Kapila, he explains this in a very beautiful, with very beautiful details. He says that originally the consciousness of the living entity, even in this material world, is completely pure. It's completely serene, it's peaceful, it's very concentrated, it's not distracted to all these things. But what comes next, this consciousness being influenced by the tamasic element, the tamagun, develops the false ego, false identity. And he defines false identity, the false ego of the living entity, in the verse number 26, where he again says that the false ego has also three main qualities or three main characteristics. And this false ego, false identity, is like the cloud on the serene and pure consciousness of Mahatattva or Citta, which is originally primarily sattvic. It's sattvic. It's very sattvic, and therefore it's transparent. Therefore it's so peaceful, and so on and so forth. But this tamasic transformation, when the Citta is being influenced by this mode of tamas, creates the knot of false ego. And false ego has three main qualities: kartritvam, karanatvam, and karyatvam. Why I'm explaining this, it will be clear, because there will be some very practical lesson from these two verses of Srimad Bhagavatam by Kapila Dev. It says basically that contamination which is coming to our Citta, to our consciousness, is coming from this false ego, and false ego has these three aspects. First of it, kartritvam, which means I'm the doer. Karanatvam, I am my senses. I am this identification with my, eyes, with the nose, with the ears, with my hands, legs, and everything. Karanatvam. And karyatvam, the fruits of my action, the results of my action, everything which surrounds me, this dravya, these things which are around me, with which I identify myself. So usually we say that there is two aspects of false ego, aham and mama. But here it is said, no, it's three aspects of the false ego. Aham, I am the doer. Aham, I am this body. And Mama, the results of my activity is also I. This is me. This is extension of me. So that's the contamination. The contamination is this three aspects of the false ego which we all have, and because this contamination is there, the consciousness doesn't have this clarity. So basically it means if we try to derive a practical advice from this, it means that while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which we received from the pure source, which is powerful by definition, and because we are lucky enough to, especially those disciples of Srila Prabhupada who had personal interaction with him, especially some of them who had a lot of personal interaction with Srila Prabhupada. So, there is this powerful holy name which can make miracles, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in this story. But what is important, while we're chanting the holy name, we have to divest ourselves from these three aspects of false ego. Because we often habitually forget about it. When we chant the holy name, we sometimes, I will speak about myself. I'm sure you're not doing this, but I'm doing this all the time. I sometimes feel that I'm chanting the holy name. And that's the first aspect of the false ego. I am the doer. I'm chanting the holy name. Okay, let's chant the holy name. Let's concentrate. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm chanting the holy name. That's the first mistake. And then how I'm chanting the holy name? I'm chanting the holy name with my tongue, right? This is my tongue. This is my senses. This is karanatvam. And then, of course, karyatvam. While chanting the holy name, I'm constantly, identifying myself with everything else which is there around me. So these three elements or three aspects of the false ego are still there. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while explaining the method of chanting of the holy name, he says, Trinada pisa nichina tarara pisa hishnu namani namanadana kirtaniya sadahari. That basically, for Cheta Darpana Marjanam to take place, we have to divest ourselves from these aspects of the false ego, false identity. We have to, at least for the time of the chanting, we have to completely try to, to dissolve this misidentification with the body, with the senses, and with my possessions and everything which is there. So if in this consciousness we will chant the holy name, remembering, or not even chant, but try to receive the holy name, because the connection is there. The connection is definitely there. It's established by the process of initiation and everything else. So the holy name, which we already received from the pure source, if we try to, every time when we chant, to reenact this reception of the holy name from the pure source, which means outside of the false ego. When the holy name comes directly from the pure source, without being interjected by our false ego and false identity. I'm doing this. See how great I am. I chanted 17 rounds today, not 16. I'm so great. Then the purification will take place very quickly, and then all these amazing results, which are basically the natural state of the pure consciousness is there, will come. The serenity will come, the concentration will come. but it basically means that internally we always have to remember about this connection, that the holy name which I chant, it's not just the holy name which I read in the book, it's the holy name which I received from the pure devotee. It's this holy name which I am chanting. I received it through the process of initiation, I received it through the process of serving, if this state of consciousness will be there while we are chanting the holy name, then the purification will take place very quickly. And the results which are promised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this first verse of Shikshashtakam, Cheta Darpanam Arjunam Bhava Mahadavaknini Vapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, and so on and so forth, will also come very quickly. And I also wanted to tell another little story from the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also connected with the same theme of the powerful holy name, or the effect of the holy name, which he manifested while he was chanting the holy name. It's a very interesting story because, again, it illustrates the same point, but it adds some little different angle to this whole thing. This is the story when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India. And while traveling in the South India, he came to one holy place where Lord Ramachandra was staying. And there was some holy tree which was still there from Lord Ramachandra's time. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, he was worshipping, and one local Brahmin, he invited him to take lunch in his house. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to his house to take lunch, he noticed that this local Brahmin was constantly chanting the holy name of Ram, non-stop, all the time, Ram, 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 Ram. He was not saying even anything, he was only chanting Ram, 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 Ram. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took lunch in his house, and he was very appreciative and very grateful to this particular devotee. Then he went to some other places, and then after a few days he returned to the same house, to return to the same place, and again the same Brahmana invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take lunch in his home. And this time Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed that he's chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was quite surprised, and he said, "What happened to you? Why so quickly you change your Ishta Devata? Usually it doesn't happen like this. If you are fixed in worship of some particular deity, you are doing this worship, and you are quite satisfied by worshipping this particular deity." And this Brahmana, he told his story. He said, "From my childhood, I was reading the scriptures, and I started collecting the verses from the scriptures which would glorify the power of the holy name. And I read many, many different verses of the power of the holy name, and I know all of them by heart. But among all the holy names of the Lord, which are very powerful, my favorite was the holy name of Lord Ram. And therefore I was chanting. And I knew that the holy name of Krishna is also even more powerful than the holy name of Ram. But I couldn't stop. I could only chant the holy. I could not even move my tongue to chant the holy name of Krishna. I could only chant the holy name of Ram. But since you came, and I heard you pronouncing these words, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. ever since I heard you chanting the holy name of Krishna, I couldn't stop. I only chant the holy name of Krishna. I don't chant the holy name of Ram anymore. because the holy name which I heard from you was so powerful that it touched my heart. And basically, again, the point which I'm trying to make is that when we chant, we should understand that it's not me who is chanting. I am just trying to serve the holy name which I received from the pure source. And if this consciousness is there while we are chanting, and that I am just a receptacle of the mercy of the holy name, or of the mercy of a pure Vaishnava, which came to me in the form of the holy name. If this consciousness is there while we are chanting the holy name, then our consciousness will become very pure quite quickly, and it will regain its original qualities which are described in the verse which we read. I guess I should stop now. Thank you very much. Anyway. So, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for that very practical discourse on the holy name. It's something we live with every day. And I couldn't help thinking of two shlokas, which directly relate to what you were saying. And one is the prayer of Queen Kunti, Aishwaryasya Samagasya. Not that one, but Janmaishwarya Shuddha Naiva Hatta Vidhatam Dvaitvam Kinchana Gochana. And as many of you know, and you probably know, I've been going through the Bhagavatam and looking for places where there's some adjustment needed. And this verse is one of them. Because the translation that we've had now for 47 years, is not faithful to the one that Prabhupada gave us in his original Bhagavatam. It doesn't mention the chanting of the holy name, Abhidatam, which is addressing the Lord. And so, and feeling, the whole point is feelingly, and the purport exactly deals with what you're talking about. If you're too much progressively intoxicated with these four opulences, then you can't address the Lord feelingly. So the translation now is, my dear Lord, your Lordship is easily approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted, because those who are progressively intoxicated with these four opulences of wealth, good birth, beauty, and education cannot address you with deep feeling. And then Prabhupada talks about it in the purport. And the other one is the last verse in that famous series in the second chapter, first canto, Vidyate Vidya Grantis, Chidyante Sarvasanchaya, Chiyante Drishta, Evatmani Shure. And it directly talks about seeing the Lord in the heart there, which was kind of much. So when
the knot of the whole series is Chidan, and it's completely broken, right?
By the persevering chanting, by the purifying process. Yeah. That's exactly what you're talking about. So thank you very much for...
Maharaj, excuse me, it's bedtime for my grandson, so I gotta go. But I wanted to ask, in that mood that you told the story of Srivas Thakur being afraid of getting arrested, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu telling him, don't worry, could you please introduce Japadas to those who may not know him?
I thought about this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you Japa Prabhu. He's sitting right there. He was one of those first devotees in Russia who were persecuted severely. He served 3 years, or more than 3 years, 3 years and 3 months and 3 weeks, right, in prison. He was sentenced by the Russian authorities to prison, and he actually happened to be my Vartma Pradashak Guru, he introduced me to Krishna consciousness. And actually, he was the one from whom I heard the holy name for the first time. He didn't know about this. He was under his shower, and he didn't know that I am in the same room. He was my roommate in the university hostel, and he was taking his shower, and he was chanting loudly holy name. And I came to the room, and I thought, he's crazy, probably. He has gone mad. So he was the first one from whom I heard the holy name. And he lives in
San Francisco.
San Jose in California. So now, yes. You want to tell more about him? Kirtiraj Prabhu?
I met Japadas 40 years ago this month for the Moscow Book Fair. And he's probably the most mild-mannered, quiet, except for I never heard the story about chanting loud in the shower, so that's a side of him I never knew. But mild-mannered, quiet, gentlemanly devotee I think I've ever met. And I met him when I went in 1979 to the Moscow Book Fair 40 years ago. I think some of the people in this room are not even 40 years old. Not talking about the little kids either. And so he came from St. Petersburg to then Leningrad to help man the booth at the Moscow Book Fair. And he was so enthusiastic for distributing prasadam, preaching to people that came to the book fair, bookstall, taking orders for Srila Prabhupada's books that we subsequently sent from Bombay and everybody got them, but explaining to everybody so nicely what Krishna consciousness was all about, because these people had no clue in 1979, had no clue whatsoever what was going on. And he's been, for more than 40 years, instrumental in Krishna consciousness movement in the former Soviet Union and spreading it and practicing it. He's really a very special devotee.
I just will add some personal touch to this thing. I heard the holy name from his lips. He didn't know about this. But then at one point he came to me, he gave Bhagavad Gita, not Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, another translation of Bhagavad Gita, and he gave me the beads and he told me to chant the holy name. And at that time, I didn't believe in God. I didn't know who is Krishna, who is Rama, what is Hare, and what is it all about. But I knew him. And I had a complete faith in him and in his integrity. And he told me, just try to chant. And I did what he said to me because I had a trust in him. And ever since I'm doing it, I never stopped chanting. He just told me, do it, and I'm doing it. Now I know a little more why I'm doing it. In the beginning, there was only one reason why I was doing it, because I trusted him. There was no other reason, only because of this. So,
And you still trust him.
I still trust him.
Maharaj, you're describing that one should meditate on the holy name as he receives it from his guru or his authority. So that's like for initiated devotees. So for uninitiated devotees, how should they be thinking?
They should be thinking to take initiation. That's my humble suggestion. may not be fashionable in some circles of ISKCON nowadays, but it's the process. It is actually explained. And Guru Govinda Maharaj gave a very beautiful explanation to this. He said that by the process of initiation, you establish a connection, the service connection. You know, what is initiation? Initiation basically means that you officially become the servant. You adopt or you imbibe this identity, I'm the servant. That's why the name is given to you in the moment of initiation, your dasa. For you to meditate on this identity of being a servant, and while serving your spiritual master, you by establishing this connection, through the media of this connection, you receive the mood which is coming from your spiritual master, basically the mood, and then you start chanting in the same mood. You know, it's very difficult. The mood is a very subtle thing. It's difficult to catch it. You can only catch it by the mercy of somebody who has this elevated mood. And mood basically means bhav, the feeling which is there. So you can only get the feeling if you establish this connection with the pure devotee. You establish this connection with the pure devotee, and through the connections, through the media of the service, you receive the mood, and then you will be able not to chant just the syllables of the holy name, but the holy name with the proper feeling. That's at least my understanding of how it works, how it should work.
I have a question, Maharaj. Madhavendra Puri, if the logic comes in the beginning of your class, you mentioned about this inherent, this love is inherent or it has to be obtained from outside. Madhavendra Puri was a Kalpa Vriksha, but he has the mood of Srimati Radharani's experience. How do you explain that? That's one. And second is...
Who am I to explain this?
No, I mean, I faced also one person like this, and I won't say the name, but I gave some sloka from Madhya Lila chapter 6, 160, where Mahaprabhu told this to Sarvama Bhattacharya. Antaranga Chit Shakti, Bahiranga Maya Shakti, Tadastha Jiva Shakti, Tina Kare Prema Bhakti. This love is inherent. This is Mahaprabhu. It's not Prabhupada or Bhaktivinod Thakur's opinion. It is Mahaprabhu's opinion. Then he told me, well, I don't accept the Bengalis. I said, excuse me, this is Mahaprabhu speaking. So that was kind of end of our discussion. And also another verse, the Jiva Goswami Pad, they strictly follow Jiva Goswami Pad. This conception in Priti Sandarbha, the Patropatram Vishishtam, Atra Sri Krishna Vishaya Roti. Now, Atra Sthai Bhava Saprukta, Sri Krishna Vishaya Roti, Patropatram Vishishtam. There is that every soul has a particular sentiment that other soul cannot have. As a geologist, gemologist I put that one in front of him, that under the ground, the inherent color of sapphire blue or inherent color of ruby red or emerald green cannot be visible because it's in that condition. So conditioned soul may not be visible their particular relationship and the love for a particular sentiment of Krishna. But what makes them red and blue when it is taken out and faceted, tumbled, fashioned to and the light. So question may arise, is the light causing the color or it is inherent? So those who are intelligent, they will say both. So it is mercy of Guru, holy name, that coming down, And also it is inherent. Both combination are accepted. So that's and I haven't found any opposition. I'm not going to fight with anybody, but if somebody comes, I also have because I strongly believe what Prabhupada says and Bhaktivinod Thakur says, nobody has a power to defy that. That's my humble.
Thank you.
You still want an answer from him?
Prabhupada was just confirming what Maharaj already said.
Yeah, Maharaj said we accept that,
Yeah.
Bhaktivinod Thakur, but we should be not falsely proud, but very happily proud that Prabhupada, what he presented, is perfect, what Mahaprabhu did.
So what did that have to do with the desire Sri Madhavendra Puri and all that?
I asked them the question. They said, well, if they don't have a Madhur Ras, nobody can have it. I said, how the Kalpa Vriksha has a Madhur Ras? How you explain this verse? We dina daya danat. How you explain this? He said, oh, we are talking about different subject. I said, you changing the subject.
There are so many examples of the similar nature, like Narada Muni. He has so many disciples, and all these disciples are different.
Yes.
Even though they have the same guru, it's not that it's only exclusively dependent on the guru.
Yes.
That's
very good.
And another example is, of course, Anupam, who is the brother of Rupa and Sanatan. If you can receive the Madhurya Bhav from anyone, that's definitely Rupa and Sanatan. But Anupam didn't didn't change this.
I think Madhavendra Puri became Kalpa Vriksha because he had association of Nityananda. Anonita Bine Bhai Radha Krishna Paitina. So Madhavendra Puri also initiated Nityananda. They were his disciples. So by association of Nityananda, he gets Radha Krishna. Prema Bhava.
He gets what?
Radha Krishna.
But in this case, it is only 3 persons.
Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radharani and Madhavendra Puri, nobody else. That's specific.
Yeah.
In Chaitanya
It
Charitamrita.
said that the only three realized the meaning of this verse.
It's very nice class. Thank you. It's very nice.
Did we hear Japa-Vas's voice? Talk about you.
Chant.
Prabhu said that he's very quiet.
Tell a little story.
Needs a mic.
Your English must be perfect now. It didn't used to be. But how long have you been in California?
18 years.
How many?
18 years.
18.
Yeah.
So then, you must speak some English. Tell a story. No. He was also very humble and listened whenever you asked him to do something. But now in California, he won't listen.
What do you want? Nobody listens in California.
Nobody listens in California.
I know.
There is no Shravan.
Only kids.
Weren't you one of the founding members of Korjenova?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
By chance.
by chance. Not anyway. Okay. By chance.
He's a humble.
Korjenova was the first, correct me if I'm wrong, Korjenova was the first devotee community, rural agricultural community in the former Soviet Union, correct?
First successful.
First successful. And where's Korjenova?
It's south of Russia. It's
Southern
Maybe-
Russia.
maybe 100 miles north from Black Sea.
North of?
By the Black Sea.
Black Sea. The Black Sea.
That's a place.
You can see Black Sea on map, so you can imagine it's just 100 miles or 200 kilometers north from Black Sea.
Google in a second.
It's in mountains.
Is it still there? Would you?
You want to tell the story about this, how you were arrested and they brought the false witness there, this lady.
Oh, it was horrible.
It's a nice story.
Okay. So we were sitting
So you
in
have to talk louder.
Maybe give him the mic.
sitting in a courtroom, like 3 rows in front was empty. It was like in 4th row. It was like big hall, like theater or movie hall. So judge asked, okay, come this kind, this witness gave name, and she came, she approached. Judge asked, okay, what you can tell. She started explaining. One day, one person came to my house and asked me to sacrifice my own daughter. And just asked, oh, can you find somebody in this hall? Who was that person? She said, yes, sure. And I was just thinking, what is going on? And she going on a rose, and she looked on me and said, oh, it's him. So I was just starting shouting, who is that lady? I never met her in my life. Maybe she is crazy. Can you check your health from psychiatric specialist? And then we continue. And judge just stopped me. She said, if you continue speaking, we ask you leave, and we will continue without your presence. So I decided something very serious. So I just shut up, and I have a lawyer, not regular lawyer in USSR, but a lawyer who was honest. And she was honest, and she leaving this kind of job in 2 weeks, because she was married and her husband took her to Ukraine, and she just stopped working, and she told to my sister, last court case, I will do as should be done. So that lawyer asked a witness, first lawyer asked judge, can I ask some question to this witness? And judge said, yes, of course, ask her. She knows answer for everything. And this lawyer asked 3 questions. Who is their God? What is their main scripture? And what is the color of dress? And this witness start explaining, oh yes, black color dress, like Christian monks. Scripture is Bible, and God is Jesus Christ. And judge was not so happy. And my lawyer said it should be mistake. They are devotee of Krishna. Their book called Bhagavad Gita, and they dress white colors or orange colors. They never dress black. It should be mistake. And if it will be proved, I will get maybe 15 years to sentence. But that lady left, and she never show up again. And in 20 years, she approached devotees when everything changed, situation changed, and she explained. It was prosecutor who promised her, I will give you 50 rubles. Just do this, and explain this. But she was a little bit crazy. She was not regular citizen. She was, I believe, cannot understand what is going on. So she said, how to say, как сказать, обманула. She cheated me. This prosecutor, he cheated me. He never gave this money to me. He said, you was stupid, you didn't make a job rightly. So it was, for me, it was stress. Because some person approached me and said, oh, he asked my daughter to sacrifice.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
How about the story about how you faced down the KGB?
Yeah, Maharaj, tell us. Maharaj, please.
There's nothing close to it.
Tell us, man. It's so dramatic. You know the story.
What shall I tell Kirtiraj Prabhu? You know better.
Everything.
Can I tell something about you?
Yes, sure you can.
I don't remember the year. I'm beginning to remember less and less the years. You can say what year that I hatched a plan that we had some really bad, no comments from the Russians, please. We had some really bad translations of Prabhupada's books. Sri Upanishad. There was not a very good translation of Bhagavad Gita. Easy Journey to Other Planets. And we realized that we really had to get serious about making Prabhupada's books in the languages of the Soviet Union. So I did some investigation and asked around who was a good translator. And His Holiness was an excellent translator, according to my sources in the Soviet Union. So I hatched a plan, with all due respect, Maharaj, to get him married, because that was the only way that you could really get anybody out of the country, was that they would marry a foreigner. So there was a Swedish devotee lady, and she sent her, she agreed, and they got married. And after probably a year and a half, Vijnanath Das came to Sweden and sat down in a very humble room in the upstairs of our house in Almviksgård in Sweden, and began translating like mad. And I kind of, I always feel that I have two sons, my householder son and my sannyasi son. And, but he did wonders. He organized the Russian language BBT and took care of so many other language translators that made it possible to have so many Prabhupada's books in so many languages of the former Soviet Union. And he was the, they call it not kingpin, keystone, let's say, we called it the Soviet BBT. And so many devotees came from the Soviet Union, and things changed and opened up, but he was the first one to come and translated himself and organized so many others to translate and produce Prabhupada's books, editing them after they were translated. And now you have what you have today in Srila Prabhupada's books in so many languages and so many hundreds of thousands of devotees throughout the country.
Bhakti Vijnana Maharaj ki.
I actually have to add something to this. When I first came to Sweden, there was this completely crazy story. Kirtiraj Prabhu got me married to this Swedish lady. The Swedish lady came to Tashkent. Tashkent is a very hot place. It's the capital of Uzbekistan. And first thing she did, she fainted because it was too hot for her. I didn't know how to deal with her. I didn't know how to deal with ladies and with ladies who fainted. It was very difficult. Anyway, but then, when we got married, it was not so difficult. But I really lived a nice life in Tashkent. I was very happy. We had a little group of devotees. We were preaching there. And I thought I will stay. I didn't really have a plan to go there. So this is how Krishna works. It's a very interesting thing. For some time I was living there and there was nothing. Everything was quiet and everything was so nice. But then in one day I received two signs from Krishna simultaneously. I was called to the prosecutor's office and they told me, enough is enough, we know everything about you, this time we will arrest you. And at the same time I received a nice telegram from my wife. And by the style of this telegram, I realized that it was not my wife, but Kirtiraj Prabhu himself. He said, my dear, I'm so in love with you. Where are you? And I knew that this Swedish lady will never pronounce this word because it was not from her, vocabulary. She would not be able to say this. I imagined, big figure of Kirtiraj Prabhu behind this telegram. And the telegram says, come as quickly as possible. And because these two signs came simultaneously, I thought I should take it seriously. So in this way, I came to Sweden, and I was so homesick in Sweden. The whole mood was so different there. If you ever been to Sweden, Sweden is a very cold place with a very cold people. And I came from a very hot place with a very hot people. And sentimental people. So I was almost dying there. Until the time when Kirtiraj Prabhu actually adopted me. I was really his son. I was living in his house. Hari Puja was my mother and Kirtiraj Prabhu was my father. And I was living there, and only because I was living there with them and I felt this, family environment and care of Kirtiraj Prabhu and Hari Puja, only I survived. Otherwise, I wouldn't survive in Sweden. I probably hang up myself somewhere. So, thank you very much, Kirtiraj Prabhu.